Welcome to the Spiritual Sanctuary. I'm Bertena, priestess and spiritual coach and yoga teacher. And today we are beginning our 8-day journey into yoga as movement, meditation, healing, and a spiritual practice. In this series, we're going to explore yoga beyond the poses. We're looking at yoga as a sacred path that can support the body, calm the mind, open the heart, and reconnect us with the divine. I want you to take a deep breath in. Soften your shoulders and allow yourself to arrive. So, day one, International Week of Yoga. Most of the time, International Day of Yoga is celebrated on June 21st. But this year, I wanted to go deeper than just one day. I wanted to take an entire week to explore yoga as a sacred practice, a healing practice, a spiritual practice, and a way of coming home to ourselves. So, for the next 8 days, we're going to explore yoga from many different angles. We'll talk about the history of yoga, which I find so interesting and very complex, and we will only just barely touch on it. We'll mention the limbs of yoga, yamas and niyamas, the paths of yoga, which many people get confused with the styles of yoga. The paths of yoga are your spiritual paths that you can take, and you can do multiple ones, and you'll find out all about them. The styles of yoga are the types that maybe you may be familiar with, like restorative or vinyasa, yoga for the healing mind, the body, and the soul, and then how yoga connects with the divine feminine and the priestess path. So, today on day one, we are beginning with a simple but very powerful question. What is yoga? And more specifically, what is yoga beyond the poses? Because for many people, especially here in America, yoga's often seen as just stretching or an exercise, or as I call it, the butt crunching exercise. A lot of times people think that in order to practice yoga that you have to be thin and young and fit and bendy and graceful and all that, but that's not the heart of yoga. Yoga is not just about touching your toes. It's not about doing a perfect pose. And it's not about wearing the right clothes, having the right mat, or knowing all the Sanskrit words. It's not about performing spiritually. At its heart, yoga is about union. Many times the word yoga is translated as union or connection, or my favorite, to yoke together. It points to the ideas of bringing together what is felt separated. It's the union of the body and the breath, the mind and the spirit, movement and stillness, the self and divine, and also the inner worlds and the outer world. Yoga asks us to come back into relationship with ourselves. It invites us to notice where we are disconnected. Are we disconnected from our body? Do we hide? Do we not want to address anything with our body? Are we in pain? Are we disconnected from our breath? Do we hold our breath when anxiety hits? Are we disconnected from our intuition? Do you not trust your own soul, your own intuition, your own self? Are you disconnected from peace? In a world like today, that's understandable. Are you disconnected from the divine or even from your own inner truth? Then just gently breathe, breath by breath, practice by practice. And yoga helps us to return. And that's why I love the phrase yoga is the practice of returning home to yourself. You're not becoming someone else. You're not forcing yourself into a pose or judging your body or competing with the person next to you. You're just trying to prove that you are returning. I should say you weren't trying to prove anything to yourself. We get into that mindset because we always feel like we have to keep score with things. And returning, you don't keep score. You just return to breathing. What we did naturally from the time we were born will return to our body to where we are familiar with ourselves. We're not hiding. We return to the present moment, to inner wisdom, and then to the sacred within you. And that's why yoga is so much deeper than physical movement. It includes movement, but it doesn't have to. It can include stretching or strengthening or balancing or opening the body, but movement is only one doorway in. You can do breath work or pranayama, and that be yoga. You can just meditate, and that's yoga. Yoga can be mantras or devotion. It can be prayer or self study or sacred rest. Yoga can be service or what we call a seva, and it also can be silence. It's the way you live, you speak, you listen, you love, and you respond to the world around you. It's a complete spiritual system. It's a path of self awareness and discipline, healing, liberation, and connection. And when I say discipline, I'm not talking about punishment or forcing yourself or no pain, no gain. Spiritual discipline is devotion. So it's the gentle choice of keep returning to your mat or your bed or your chair, to keep listening and breathing and remembering who you are underneath the noise. Yoga teaches us that the body is not separate from the soul. And this is so important, especially for those of us walking a spiritual path. Sometimes spirituality is taught as if the body is something to escape, as if the body is lower than the spirit, as if the body is a problem, a distraction, or an obstacle. But yoga reminds us that the body is the temple. Breath can be prayer, movement can be meditation, and stillness can be healing. Your body's not something you have to defeat in order to become spiritual. Your body's just one of the places where your spiritual practice begins. And this is where yoga becomes such a beautiful practice for the mind, the body, and the soul. For the mind, yoga helps us slow down. It gives us a way to observe our thoughts without becoming completely consumed by them. It teaches us to pause before reacting, and it teaches us to create space. For the body, yoga invites us to listen, to notice tension, to notice numbness, to notice where we hold stress, to notice what feels supportive and what does not. Yoga helps us build a relationship with the body based on compassion instead of criticism. And for the soul, yoga opens a doorway into deeper connection. It invites us to ask, who am I beneath all the roles I play? Who am I beneath the stress, the expectations, the fear, the busyness? And what is my spirit longing for? This is why yoga can meet people exactly where they are. You don't have to be flexible or young or thin or athletic or even calm. Lord help us, I am none of those. You don't have to know how to meditate. You don't have to have a perfect spiritual practice, and you don't have to be anyone other than you are at the moment. Yoga is not reserved for one body type, one age, one personality, one culture. There's no idea of what a yoga person looks like. Yoga belongs to the seeker, and the beginner, and the one that is tired, and the one that is grieving, the one that is curious about what all this is, the ones that's anxious. Yoga belongs to the person who is starting over, who feels disconnected, who wants to breathe again and wants to come home to their own body. And this is why accessible yoga is so important to me. Yoga can happen in a studio, yes, but yoga can also happen in a chair. It can happen in a bed or on the couch. You can do slow somatic movements. You can do 3 mindful breaths, and that's yoga. Yoga can happen through yoga nidra. This week, I'll be doing a yoga nidra class for you to see what it is. That's where you're lying down and being guided into deep rest. Yoga can happen through mantra, where you repeat sacred words or sounds. It can happen through prayer and journaling and meditation, and simply placing your hand on your heart and saying, I'm here. There's no one single way to begin. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to begin this podcast series with the deeper meaning of yoga. Because if we only see yoga as physical poses, we may think that it's not for us. We may think we're not flexible enough or strong enough or all those other things. But when we understand yoga as connection, everything opens up. Breath becomes yoga. Stillness becomes yoga. Rest becomes yoga. Listening becomes yoga. Self-compassion, saying no when you're tired, choosing peace over chaos, honoring your intuition, and living with greater awareness. That is yoga beyond the poses. And those of you all that are on the divine feminine path and the priestess path with me, yoga can become especially powerful. The divine feminine is deeply connected to the embodiment, the intuition, the cycles, the creativity and compassion, and especially inner wisdom. Yoga helps us connect to these qualities, not just as ideas, but as lived experiences. When we breathe, we connect to life force. When we move gently, we connect to the wisdom of the body. When we meditate, we connect to inner listening. When we rest, we honor receptivity. That's why yoga can be a priestess practice, not because we're performing something perfect or mystical, but because we're entering the temple of our body with reverence. We're listening and honoring and being present. We're remembering that the divine can be experienced through all of this. And that brings us back to our main reflection for today. Yoga is the practice of returning home to yourself. So I want you to take out your journal. And you can pause this for as long as you want. And I want you to ask yourself these questions. Where do I feel disconnected? Is it in my body, my breath, my spirit, my intuition, my inner truths, or the divine? And instead of judging this answer, just simply notice it. Awareness is the beginning of practice. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to transform your whole life in one moment. You simply need to begin by noticing, and then you breathe, and that's enough for today. And as we move through this 8-day series, I invite you to let go of the idea that yoga has to look a certain way. And this series can be an invitation to explore and soften and learn. Honor your body, deepen your spiritual practice, and come home to yourself. But before we close today, I want to guide you through a very simple practice. You can do this seated, standing, lying down in a chair, on the floor, wherever you are. If you're driving, let's not do this while driving. Maybe pull over to the side of the road in a safe space or just wait until later. But I want you to begin to notice your breath. You don't need to change it yet. I just want you to notice. Notice the inhale. Notice the exhale. Notice the body being supported. Now take one slow breath in and slowly release it. Take another breath in and slowly release it. Now, softly repeat after me. I return to myself. Take a breath in and out. I honor my body. Take a breath in and out. I welcome peace. And a breath in and out. Again, I return to myself. I honor my body and I welcome peace. Let those words settle into your body and let them become an invitation. Let them become your first practice for the day. And you may also want to continue your journal prompt. Sit with it a while in meditation. Continue to ask yourself, where in your life do you feel disconnected from your body, your breath, your spirit, or your inner truth? Pull a card, light a candle, or simply just take a few breaths and listen. Thank you for joining me for day one of International Week of Yoga. On Tuesday, on Monday, I will be at Cosmic Connections and doing private in person or Zoom yoga, meditation, breathing classes, anything that you, or even just a coaching class, anything that you need. There will be a discount code that I will send out for 30 or 45-minute practices. We can talk about anything about yoga. Because remember, yoga is not about being perfect, it's about being present and connection. On Tuesday, I have a free somatic yoga class on Zoom. You can go to our sponsor, yourcosmicconnections.com, to sign up, or you can go to my website, Bertena, Bertena.org, and sign up for all of the sessions this week. But tomorrow, we'll continue with a gentle introduction to the history of yoga. We're going to look at some ancient roots and sacred teachings and how this practice has evolved over time. But I'm glad you're returning home. And I wish you peace and I honor the spiritual soul within you. Namaste.